The next page is the cover of Saturn Fan Magazine, issue number 12 from 1998. The cover features characters from Langrisser V, highlighting a strategy guide for the game. Also mentioned are Luna 2 Eternal Blue, Slayers Royal 2, and a feature on the Dreamcast covering 24 pages. The magazine covers topics such as software makers discussing the Dreamcast's appeal, unknown hardware specifications, and a software maker and users awareness survey. This page is an advertisement for the game D2, coming in winter 1998. For the Sega Dreamcast, it has the Dreamcast logo and the developer's Warp Inc. contact details. The Japanese text translates to, "Thank you, in advance." This page is an advertisement for the Sega Saturn game Linda Cubed, a psycho-thriller hunting RPG. It highlights the game's features, including a story that delves into the depths of the human psyche, a unique world and system, and the goal of capturing 120 species and 240 animals in total. Also, the complete soundtrack CD is included with the full version only, and new scenarios/modes exclusive to the Sega Saturn version have been added with 3 parallel scenarios and a time attack mode. The game's price is 6,800 yen, excluding tax. The game design is by Masuda Shoji, and the illustration is by Cannabis. This page from the Sega Saturn Fan Magazine features a content overview highlighting key articles and games, with special focus on Lunar 2, Eternal Blue, and Slayers Royal 2. The contents page also lists strategies and features for other titles like Langrisser V, The End of Legend, Super Robot Wars F, Final Chapter, Shadows of the Tusk, Linda Cube, Complete Edition, Melt Lancer Reinforce, Eberouge Special, and Sakura Wars 2. The Continue to Report section includes Pocket Fighter, Madu Monogatari, Black Matrix, and Oju-sama Tokyo, alongside Falcom Classics 2, Druid, and Oju-sama wo Nere. The new section mentions Game Basic for Sega Saturn, Mizuki Shigeru's Yokai Zukan, Total Collection, Ultraman Zukan 3, Cross Tante Monogatari, Murakoshi Seikai no Bakucho Nippon Reto, Akumajo Dracula X, Gekka no Yasokyoku, Castlevania, Symphony of the Night, and Karyotose. The Sega Dynamic Preview section includes Back and Loader, Deep Fear, and Sega Ages, Galaxy Force 2. The issue includes a feature on the Dreamcast, previews of upcoming software, reader feedback, and ranking charts. It also advertises the release of Slayers Royal 2 for the Sega Saturn on August 27th. Priced at 6,800 yen, and cover motif is Langrisser vs. illustrated by Urushihara Satoshi. This page focuses on Lunar 2, Eternal Blue for the Sega Saturn. It shows the game's development progress and interviews. The staff roundtable highlights interesting topics. The game features full-screen animation during gameplay. Character profiles include Hidro, a curious young man from the frontier who is immune to girls. Ruby, the self-proclaimed child of the Red Dragon. Lucia, a mysterious girl. Leo, a knight serving the goddess Athena. And Lemmy, a money-loving girl. Lunar 2, Eternal Blue, for the Sega Saturn features dynamic character demos, even in non-animated scenes, bringing life to conversations. Aranfa, a gambling priest voiced by Ryotaro Okiya Yu, is introduced. The turn-based battle system allows player control or AI automation, though AI reliability is questioned. Character development is enhanced through scenarios revealing character backstories, particularly Lucia's. Players who played the Sega CD version of Lunar will find additional content and events, fun elements, and the Sega Saturn's staple bromide images, including one of Hiro with Ruby, are showcased. Improved item management and increased save slots are also highlighted. The next page is a commemorative discussion of Lunar 2 right before its completion. It features a special roundtable talk about the series' transition from Mega CD to Sega Saturn. The main focus is on the evolution of the Lunar series, starting with the creation of the original game and leading up to the Saturn version of Lunar 2. The conversation explores the initial concept and how the team of Kawazu, Shigema, Akashi, and Hino became involved, with anecdotes about their early collaborations and challenges faced, including technical limitations. The team emphasizes the increased drama and improved visuals and cinematics of the Mega CD version of Lunar 2, while acknowledging sales challenges and the transition of staff. Some of the members mention other Sega games and how it inspired their development of the Lunar series. The page features photos of the speakers and some in-game screenshots. This page is from Sega Saturn Fan Magazine, focused on Lunar 2, Eternal Blue, and features a discussion with the developers on the creation of the Saturn version. The team talks about the play points of the new release, highlighting the redone scenarios and focus on portraying characters as real people. They discuss the full-screen animation, with 24 frames per second during important scenes, enabled by improved technology. They mention that CG and animation integration still presents challenges. The developers also talk about their biggest obstacle to overcome, which was overcoming the memories of the original Lunar 2. The discussion includes the creation of new music and voice acting, with voice actors reprising their roles from the Mega CD version, but with improvements due to their experience. The developers discuss future possibilities, including a potential Lunar 3 on the Dreamcast. Due to the enhanced capabilities of the system, they express hope that the Lunar world will continue to grow and evolve due to the dedicated fanbase. The page includes screenshots from Lunar 2 and some photos of the developers, Kawazu, Shigema, Akashi, and Hino. The next page continues the interview with the developers of Lunar 2, Eternal Blue, on the Sega Saturn. The discussion focuses on creating interactive scenarios, emphasizing the importance of natural and unobtrusive storytelling and character development driven by player choices. The developers share their experiences and goals for the game, including the challenges of integrating animation and CG elements seamlessly. One interesting point is their discussion on the future of the Lunar series, with the developers expressing a desire to create a Lunar 3 on the Dreamcast. They dream of creating a very immersive experience for players that creates very emotional moments. The page also touches on the concept of cult, a term they use to describe games with unrealistic characters, and emphasizes their aim to create a more relatable and authentic gaming experience. The page includes a photo of a developer playing the game. This page dives into the adventure aspects of Slayers Royal 2, highlighting the new features added to this element of the game. The page also shows some returning characters. Characters from the movie Slayers Return will appear, including the returning fan-favorite character, Galef. The main focus is on the adventure part of the game, showcasing how it functions in the town of Dolthart. The page details commands like move, camp, action, look, event, food, stay, and buy, and what they are used for, with accompanying screenshots showing each option in action. The article notes that by resting at an inn, the player will be able to access more information and also will unlock a new location on the map. The article also includes some comments from Amelia and Zelgadis discussing the art on the page, with Amelia pointing out a mysterious character. The release date is listed as August 27th, published by Kadokawa Shootin'/Especially, and developed by Onion Egg. It's a role-playing game for all ages. The next page kicks off with a walkthrough of the game's early stages in Dolthart for Slayers Royal 2, revealing the story's progression. It focuses on the characters Lena, Guri, and Naga, with the promise that more familiar faces will join the adventure. Lena is summoned to Dolthart by the Magic Users Guild, despite her reluctance to take on their low-paying jobs, and goes on to have encounters with guild members such as Robert. The page goes into detail on the quest surrounding the amulet, stolen by a thief, and the mystery surrounding it. The page explains the reason for the appearance of Naga, the serpent. A discussion ensues surrounding the identity of Lena's impersonator. Lastly, the article introduces new spells like Elmechia Lance, and Burst Flare, and Holy Bless. This page is a promotional piece for a Sega Saturn game, where you become the coach of the Japanese national soccer team. It is a collaboration between Sega and Enix, blending sports management with RPG elements. The goal is to become the world's best coach, and you can even manage teams from other countries like Brazil. The game progresses on a weekly basis, requiring you to balance team strengthening, financial aid, and player development. Your actions determine how each week plays out, with a month consisting of 4 weeks. The game features schedules and even includes financial aspects like scouting and investing. The success of your coaching is evaluated annually, and failure to meet contract terms can lead to being fired. There are screenshots, including a match result, Japan winning 20 against Spain, the in-game experience, statistics, and a schedule. The more attention a match gets, the better the players and coach develop. There is also a CD information section of the game detailing it features one player, is by Sega and Enix. It comes with 435 play data and is 99% complete. This page is about enhancing the Japanese national soccer team in the game. It involves an RPG-style approach to building a team, focusing on how to strengthen the team by going around the in-game map, utilizing facilities effectively. The page features various locations, including practice grounds, association, sports shop, the Winslow Foundation, hotel, and player's home. The page highlights that you can purchase items to boost a player's ability at the sports shop. The items, like the Kin no Pierce earrings, increase attributes such as shot power and judgment. There's also information on practice content at the training camp, including team play practice, individual skill practice, tactics, and team formation changes. Team play can improve player level, which determines how successful the team are in matches, with skills such as smash volley and change pace available to learn. The Winslow Foundation is where players invest in technology and popularity. Investment in technology improves a country's soccer ability, while popularity investments improve stadium attendance. Additionally, the game has various other facilities, such as the stadium, hotel, and player's home, each serving a unique purpose, like saving data or receiving information. There's information on creating team play, including setting up turn-based actions and customizing team play. You can give formations custom names and assign players to team play, and also program individual skills and tactics. The next page is a simulation of the Japanese national team. It delves into the 4 years leading up to the World Cup, simulating the journey of the Japanese team under the protagonist's guidance as manager. The page is broken down into year-by-year summaries. The first year focuses on the new coach's start, with schedules outlining matches against teams like Kazakhstan, Argentina, and Egypt. It shows the protagonist collecting information and engaging with different facilities, such as the practice grounds and shops. There are details on team actions, like training and item purchases. The page highlights an overseas tour with games against Australia, Morocco, South Korea, and America, ending with a 3-win, 1-draw result. Year 2 covers further progress, showcasing a rematch against Nazawa and an Asia-Oceania Cup, where Japan makes a good effort but loses to Iran in the final. Year 3 focuses on improving the team through investment and competition in the Winners' Cup. Year 4 is about the World Cup qualifiers, where Japan is in Group A with Korea, Australia, and Kazakhstan. The page details wins in the early matches and talks about the final matches, with the team ultimately failing to reach the World Cup. Games mentioned on this page include the Winners' Cup and the Asia Championship. There are also screenshots of the game and the results of matches, and details on the world rankings. This page unveils an opening event for the upcoming strategy simulation RPG, Vach RDER. It follows the protagonist, Lucien Tira, who aspires to be a knight, and his twin sister. The opening events, set during Lucian's 16th year and 4 years later, delve into their story. The narrative begins in a desolate, polluted city, where Lucian and his sister were born. His sister suffers from a disease that prevents her from being exposed to sunlight. Lucian promises to become her knight. Facing her impending death, Lucian seeks to earn money to buy medicine, leading him to a gladiatorial arena where he hopes to win a fortune. After his sister's death, Lucian encounters Princess Carol, who is targeted by assassins. Reminded of his promise to his sister, he vows to protect her. He obtains a replica sledge, which is a vehicle used by the 5 sword emperors who govern the city. He remembers his promise to his sister and is able to activate it. His screenshots showcase scenes from the game, including the city, characters, and battles. This page of the magazine provides a dynamic preview of Deep Fear, highlighting its suspenseful narrative and the weapons players will wield. The article reveals the release date and details the game's mysterious system, focusing on the available weaponry and the story's gripping elements. The opening scene introduces the player to a terrifying prologue set in the early 21st century, where the protagonist, John Mayer, becomes entangled in a web of horror. The story includes the death of his partner, Mookie, and the monsters he will have to fight. The article details the weapons players will have access to, including a Glock pistol, MP5 submachine gun, shotgun, stun grenade, and Colt M1991-01. A section is also dedicated to the enemy's reaction patterns, indicating that enemy damage patterns vary based on the weapon used, the point of impact, and the distance, providing realistic combat scenarios. The next page of the magazine features Sega Ages / Galaxy Force 2, highlighting its arcade-perfect visuals and gameplay on the Sega Saturn. It emphasizes the beautiful sprite artwork and the music, which will impress fans. The replay game mode allows players to record and re-watch their gameplay, offering a chance to improve and try difficult sections. The game allows you to select from 5 different planets to start from. The stages include Artificial Planet Megarion, Volcano Planet Ashtar, Plant Planet Markland, Sand Planet Sarah, and Cloud Planet Orsea. The article also gives tips for each planet. For example, in Ashtar, you must avoid the magma that spurts out, or, in Megarion, that there are many robots waiting. This page dives into character creation and class changes in Langrisser V, The End of Legend for the Sega Saturn. It covers the basics of character creation, explaining how answering questions from the operator at the game's start affects the protagonist's stats, class, and available magic. The page details key character attributes like class type, initial items, judgment, mobility, and intelligence, each influencing gameplay and character development. It provides a brief look at how to create a character to your liking and lists starting classes. The article discusses magic, skills, and class changes. It also lists the class advancement for other characters such as Lambda, who can progress to Wizard, Summoner, Shaman, Saint, etc., and Alfred, who can become a Ranger, General, Gladiator, and more. This part highlights the importance of planning your character's progression early on, as choices are permanent. The article gives a general idea of the character attributes, combat stats, and how they affect the game's mechanics. The next page provides essential knowledge for Langrisser V, The End of Legend, starting with the basics of winning battles and hiring mercenaries. It emphasizes the importance of mercenaries to support your troops and explains the advantages of mixing unit types to cover weaknesses. The page also discusses attack affinities, highlighting the 3-way deadlock system and how understanding it can lead to victories against stronger opponents. The article covers shopping for items and equipping characters with weapons, armor, and accessories, and suggests to always try to equip your units with items. It also talks about special items like wands that enhance magic range and power, and crosses that boost magic resistance. The article gives a general idea of the character attributes, combat stats, and how they affect the game's mechanics, and details the importance of unit placement before battles, suggesting consideration of attack affinities and enemy positions, and strategic deployment of commanders. Finally, the new action meter system is explained, emphasizing its importance in determining unit actions. The page also introduces the concept of storing action points for later use, and it details the commander-troop relationship, with emphasis on targeting enemy commanders. It then briefly explains the auto-battle system. There's also a section on using magic effectively, including healing, damage, and support spells, as well as the strategic use of summoning magic. This page continues the Langrisser V, The End of Legend Guide, covering scenarios 1 through 4 with map strategies and point explanations. Scenario 1 focuses on escaping the research facility, advising players to avoid direct confrontation with reinforcements, and prioritizing the escape of Sigma and Lambda. Scenario 2 discusses tactics for the pursuit scenario, warning players against approaching ISIL carelessly, and explains that Selena will assist you in defeating ISIL. Scenario 3 covers how to get Alfred on your side, and that he is vital in taking down Gordry's forces, and Scenario 4 discusses how to ensure that Weiler does not escape, and provides tactics on how to slow him down and defeat him. The guide emphasizes using Alfred's Lancer units effectively against cavalry. The page also warns against endangering civilians and taking them into battle. The next page continues, the Langrisser V, The End of Legend Guide, this time focusing on scenarios 5 through 8. Scenario 5, Secluded Village, advises players to fight in the center of the map, lure out enemy spear units, and rely on Brenda to defeat ISIL. This includes the player using Alfred to face enemy units in the northeast. Scenario 6, Suspicion, advises a player to quickly approach Alfred's fort and let Brenda handle the 6th Cavalry units, with the condition that Alfred cannot die. Scenario 7, Obstruction, instructs players to gather their forces near the exit of the cave, and to assign Sigma, Alfred, and Brenda to deal with specific enemy units. Scenario 8, Afterglow, advises players to focus on escaping from Emily, using decoys to buy time, and reach the escape point. The page also warns that Emily is extremely powerful. The guide also includes unit statistics and map layouts for each scenario, as well as an image of Alfred's Lancer units being defeated by Emily's Dragoon units. This page provides a strategy guide for scenarios 4556 of the game, focusing on the final stages of the game, and offers strategic advice, including tips for using the Ideon gun. Scenario 45, Conflicting Feelings, requires defeating enemies within 6 turns to clear the colony. Otherwise, it is a loss if 6 turns pass or all allies are defeated. Scenario 46, Ideals and Reality, requires the player to defeat all enemies, but the player should avoid engaging the enemy early and sacrifice units for defense until reinforcements arrive. The guide offers a breakdown of enemy unit placement, including pilot levels and unit types, and suggests focusing attacks on the Dross unit, which triggers a DC retreat if its HP drops below 40%. The page also mentions characters such as Haxman and Gaiabli, suggesting they play a role in the unfolding story. The next page of the strategy guide focuses on scenarios 4749 of Super Robot Wars. Scenario 47, Light Severing Sword, involves infiltrating the solar ray system and either destroying all enemies or surviving for 15 turns. The recommendation is to focus on earning money during this stage. Key units include Bright, Amuro, and Quattro. Scenario 48, Blood-Stained Hands, tasks the player with either wiping out all enemies or suffering the annihilation of allied forces. This scenario involves balloon dummies and the appearance of characters like Heyman and Dozel. There's also a special event where Slagger can engage the Big Zam, reducing its HP by half. Scenario 49, Idol of Deception, is a climax in the game, set during the A-Bawa Quark. The goal is to defeat all enemies, with Excellion and Ganbusters arriving as reinforcements on turn 8. A key strategy involves recruiting Gato and Hammond as allies by meeting certain conditions, such as convincing Hammond with Quattro. The page also includes information about enemy units, pilots, levels, and machine counts for each scenario, as well as screenshots of gameplay and events. This page is a continuation of the strategy guide for Super Robot Wars F, covering scenarios 50, 51, and 52, and features maps, enemy unit lists, and strategic points for each scenario. Scenario 50, Blade of Revenge, focuses on either destroying all enemies or preventing the enemy from invading the moon. During this scenario, you can persuade Asmufi to join with Daba, and if you chose to infiltrate, you can get the new Zeal. Scenario 51, Wandering Light of Destiny. The goal is the complete annihilation of the enemy or the complete annihilation of your forces. This scenario enables the Ideon gun and features reinforcements of Psycho Gundams. And you can burn the getter at Area A. Scenario 52, Pavilion on the Sand. It is the final scenario and involves cooperating with the Earth Federation forces. The scenario's focus is protecting Hyro and Trofua until turn 8, and if Makube survives, his forces will retreat on turn 5. The page also compares the unit participation in the DC and Poseidon routes, noting that the Poseidon route is more advantageous in terms of available units and characters, such as Gato and Heyman join you, and the DC route only gives you Gato. Units such as the 9-stage custom Bash, the Sazabi, and Yakut Doga are invaluable. The Poseidon route offers better units like W-Series Gundams, Quest, and Jibble, and also the option to acquire the customed Wing Gundam Zero, if you can complete the W-Series events. The next page continues the Super Robot Wars F strategy guide, covering scenarios 53 through 56. Scenario 53, Ego Called Love, requires destroying all enemies or wiping out your own forces. The strategy involves persuading Flat and focuses on Daba's Elgheim, MK2, and Am's Elgheim. Scenario 55, The Map Painted Over, involves destroying all enemies or your own forces, and the key is convincing Lat, which leads to Flat changing sides. A screenshot shows Scenario 55A. It also notes what happens if you defeat Sirocco with Camille, with a list of characters and stats. Scenario 54, Overture of Collapse, requires destroying all enemies or wiping out your own forces, with the focus on keeping Pozidal's HP above 70% to avoid Jawaza's rebellion, and includes a point section on saving Olivi. Scenario 56, when the clock starts moving, requires destroying all enemies. The page advises against positioning units in the colony, and describes guest forces arriving on turn 4, and a point to retreat the guest units within 9 turns. The guide also points out that in Scenario 54, a high-level Skiffy can be an ally. There are enemy unit lists for each scenario, including pilot levels, unit type and numbers, and maps for some. This page is a strategy guide for Shadows of the Tusk, a simulation game for the Sega Saturn. It focuses on deck building and character strategies. The guide emphasizes the importance of creating a deck with a clear vision, whether it's focused on attack power, mobility, or sheer numbers. It provides advice on leader selection, suggesting characters like Richard or Caspid, and stresses the importance of managing your remaining mana. The guide also details character traits and how to leverage them in battle, discussing various combinations for effective team compositions, like Flying plus Earthquake, Wild plus Beastman, Goddess's Protection plus Penalty, Nightmare plus Undead, Tasker plus Galvados, and Rachel plus Rebecca. And finally, the page includes a recommended tactic for a turn 1 win, highlighting the importance of unit placement and skill usage. This page is a guide to the early areas and creatures in Linda Cube Again, a role-playing game for the Sega Saturn. The guide explains that the starting area, East area, is where you'll find Ken's house and the ship for storing captured animals. It recommends leveling up in the West area first, before venturing north and east. Scenarios often focus on collecting creatures native to the East area. The page details some of the animals that can be found in each area. In the West area, you'll encounter creatures like Buta, Pig, IKA, Squid, and other weaker monsters, while the East area features the Saru, Monkey, and Tonbo, Dragonfly. The North area, accessible through the Neprode Cave, is home to powerful enemies like Sai, Rhinoceros, and Ukami, Wolf. The guide also highlights helpful locations and services like the Bird Line, which allows for fast travel between towns, the Egg Incubation Center, where you can hatch eggs, and the Disassembly Shop, where you can dissect captured creatures for items. The page also features specific creatures, such as Mimizu, Earthworm, Mijinko, Water Flea, Monshiro, Cabbage Butterfly, Kujaku, Peacock, Ahiru, Duck, and Suzumushi, Hawk Moth. The next page provides strategies for Linda Cube Again, focusing on the Commander and Searcher character classes. It covers events, schedules, and character builds to enhance gameplay. In the Commander storyline, you battle against the anti-Yilian group GPO versus the Ishingumi, with a subplot involving the character Patty joining the Ishingumi. Key dates and events are listed, along with recommended character builds and equipment to optimize your team. The Searcher storyline details how to advance through the ranks and what items to acquire, with a focus on boosting your combat skills. The page also delves into Magical Nana Story, a side story involving the character Nana's magical transformation. It pinpoints specific events where Nana transforms, requiring careful attention to trigger them. The article also features events such as a time bomb gift, the search for a disgraced character named Sakuya, and an encounter with a giant tank. The page offers event strategies and tips for navigating key battles. This page is a strategy guide for the game Eberouge Special, a school life simulation with romance and magic. It aims to help players build relationships with the 11 heroines in the game. The guide highlights the importance of joining clubs and improving skills to encounter characters and trigger special events. Each heroine gets a dedicated section that offers information on their birthday, zodiac sign, clubs, abilities, and favorable date spots. The guide provides tips for specific events and choices players should make to improve their relationships with each girl. Characters covered include Lindell, who benefits from early game magic assistance, Eltsu, who requires boosting sensitivity and skills, and Ku, who enjoys animal and aquarium dates. Other characters like Felden, Helen, and Fallers also get similar treatment, with event tips tailored to their preferences. There is a new character, Marl, who can be met in the park, but is not a romance option. The guide also touches on connecting with Euros via mail, and details on Murr and Moritsu. The page offers strategies, such as giving Murr gifts, and details on all the character dates. Overall, the page provides a comprehensive walkthrough to navigate the characters. The next page focuses on Sakura Wars 2, specifically chapters 5 and 6. The guide provides dating advice emphasizing the importance of improving stats through studies and club activities while avoiding academic probation. It highlights the significance of making the right choices during dates at various locations like the flower shop, clothing store, and tea shop to boost affection levels. Regarding the flower shop, it details which flowers to give to each girl, considering their flower language, scent, and appearance preferences. The clothing store section mentions options for selecting outfits and gifts to increase affection. The page also includes event triggers at different locations, like the inn, caves, and battlefields, to progress through the story. Key characters like Maria and Kana are mentioned, along with tips for certain scenarios and locations, such as the bathhouse and the courtyard. There are also mini walkthroughs for specific scenes, including dialogue options to increase affection with certain characters like Maria. The next page continues the guide for Sakura Wars 2, focusing on Chapter 6, Lenny, Take Up Your Gun. It details the story involving Saki, who is taking over Lenny, who has become out of tune. The page presents scene breakdowns, with advice for various locations like the stage, Imperial Theater map, and Lavini's room, as well as the captain's room. The guide highlights Lenny's deteriorating condition and offers interaction options. A walkthrough of the Imperial Theater map is included, noting events with Sakura, Maria, and Sumire. Minigames are also mentioned, along with tips for the rooftop, Sakura's room, library, game room, and salon. Dialogue choices and their effects on character relationships are detailed, such as improving trust with Sumire and unlocking events with Sakura and Maria. Battle strategies are explained, warning against letting reinforcements arrive and providing tactics for defeating the bosses, Suiko, Treasure Shape, and Kongo, Great Sun Sword, along with their stats. It includes a map showing enemy placements and the appearance location of the Great Sun Sword. Finally, specific character attacks are mentioned, such as the special attack Snowflower Ripple 10 Tracks. This page, titled Towards the Dreamcast Era, What Will Happen to Conehead?, introduces the Conehead Club column. The article features reader submissions, experiences, and illustrations. One segment discusses a reader whose mother threw away all of his Sega Saturn fan magazines. There's also a humorous piece about game music being used in news broadcasts, even during serious or inappropriate situations. Reader letters include stories about discovering the magazine and winning a Chaos Seed game as a prize. Another letter includes a cartoon featuring a character from the game Detective Jinguji Saburo for the Sega Saturn. It also includes a mention of the magazine staff member Oat, who is depicted as a character on the right. This page is a submission form for the Saturn Fan Magazine, specifically for the Conehead Club column, and other features. The form includes spaces for personal information like name, address, phone number, pen name, and age. There are designated sections for submitting game performance data. It reminds readers to indicate the specific section they're submitting to. A note at the bottom of the form reminds readers that the card is for Sega Saturn fan submissions, which can include letters and illustrations, and to mark the intended section of the magazine. There is also a warning about the way to tear the page. The next page starts with a section called We Are Supporters, featuring fan contributions related to various games. One section shows fan art and comments about Sakura Wars, with a request to Sega to release a real-life version of the Sakura trump cards featured in the game. Another section focuses on Vampire Savior, showcasing fan art of characters like Felicia and a general appreciation for the game. Another section is dedicated to Evangelion fan art. Fans share their thoughts about the characters and relationships from the series. There's also a Dragon Force section where fans contribute character relationship charts and illustrations, as well as fan comments. A Paradigm S area includes fan comments about the game's soundtrack and collectibles. Finally, 88 Gakuen Classmates features fan art of characters from the game. Below is an article about recording and saving data, where it talks about using audio cassette cleaning liquid or swabs to clean the connection pins of memory cards, and there is tips on how to clean save data issues. Finally, a vote, the 19th Illustration Hall, in which readers voted on their favorite illustration in the magazine. This month the winner was R. Jaja, for her illustration of Synthesist and Median from Shining Force 2i. This page features several sections with fan contributions and discussions. The illustration gallery shows fan art of various characters, including Sakura from Card Captor Sakura, characters from Black Matrix, and characters from Dead or Alive. There's also fan art related to the game Chaos Seed. Sega M Freak highlights fan art featuring Shining Force characters and characters from the House of the Dead. Kids Hope discusses the design choices of the Dreamcast, particularly the decision to minimize the Sega logo, and expresses concerns about the compatibility between the Saturn and the Dreamcast. It also touches on the potential impact of third-party developers like Enix and Square. In Corn Kids Network Board, there's a discussion about romance simulation games and the appeal of pure heroines, suggesting that fans are seeking idealized representations in games. Corn Kids Q&A answers fan questions, including one about whether Sega Saturn Fan will be released on Thursdays. It mentions Win95 Natural and expectations for Dreamcast titles, including VF3, Outrun, and Sakatsuku 3. A fan named Fujiwara Takahiro discusses the 2 Heart release on PlayStation, noting the ethical regulations and whether titles like Elf and Alice will follow suit. There is also a section for submissions, detailing guidelines such as using postcards, black ink for illustrations, and providing contact information. This page offers readers a chance to win software by answering a survey. It includes an application guide, detailed instructions on how to fill out the survey, and notes on completing the postcard. The survey seeks feedback on games played from a list on page 71, including their ratings. Readers are asked about their school or profession, age, gender, and the magazines they read. Questions cover preferred game consoles and upcoming game purchases from a list on page 71, and opinions on articles in the current issue. There are also inquiries about desired Saturn games for future features and strategy guides. The page provides a list of categories for evaluation, such as characters, music, cost-effectiveness, operability, and originality. There's also a table with examples of how to properly and improperly fill out the postcard. The page details the software available as prizes, with 5 copies each of Lunar 2, Eternal Blue, J-League Jikyu Soccer Perfect Striker, Deep Fear, Sega Ages Galaxy Force 2, Pocket Fighter, Black Matrix, Ojo-sama Tokyo, Ojo-sama Onere, Cross Tante Monogatari, Motsureta 7 Suno Labyrinth, and Akumajo Dracula X, Gekka no Yasukyoku, Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Lastly, instructions are included to use proper format when answering questions on the postcard. This page features a contest for readers to win, especially entertainment software publishing, merchandise, and presents. It showcases photos of the prizes and announces the 98 winners. Many of the prizes were exclusive to game shows or magazines. There is an announcement detailing that the goods from Izumi Takemoto are available for purchase online from the Himawari House website. A list of prize winners is included, categorized by prize such as telephone cards, Baroque, Silhouette Mirage, Grandia, Caps, Gungraphon, Single Creds, Radiant Silver Gun, and additional Grandia items like setting books, plush toys, and jigsaws. Another section lists winners of Tokyo Game Show merchandise from various games, including Sakura Wars 2, SNK Illustrations, Princess Quest, Black Matrix, Vampire Savior, Lunar 2, Daina Heart Island, Yumimi Mix, and more. The names of the winners, along with their locations, are provided. Finally, the page highlights the upcoming Dreamcast game, D2, with a special feature. It boasts about the impressive visuals and includes the latest information, revealing that Sega's Dreamcast will be the platform for the game. The feature promises to share the opening cinematic and a detailed story introduction, along with an interview with director Kenji Ino. A table shows planned release date and platform for the game and other details. This page delves deeper into the opening cinematic of D2, showcasing various scenes and plot points. The opening sequence begins with a man struggling through a blizzard, leaving a trail of red blood that eventually turns green. The scene shifts to a dimly lit cabin with a fire, where Kimberly sits in a rocking chair, gazing at Laura asleep in a bed. The focus then shifts to Laura's pained expression and a meteor hurtling toward Earth. The meteor crashes through the atmosphere. The story then transitions to the passenger plane. Additional scenes from the game show Laura asleep on a plane, typing at her laptop, and later startled and dropping her drink. On the airplane, a girl is offering a sarcastic gesture to Laura. While a man is lying injured on the floor, there is a shadowy figure of a man, and another scene of a man pointing a gun and shooting a passenger. The page refers to an old man with a hood, whispering words and touching a crystal ball. The next page continues the D2 coverage, starting with a plane crash caused by a meteorite impact and the fate of passenger Laura. A terrorist, witnessing the event, expresses fear before being confronted by a monster. David takes Laura's hand, but a burst tears through the aircraft, leading to the crash in the Canadian mountains. Laura suddenly awakens in a mountain cabin. The page explores mysteries in the game's opening. A hooded man repeatedly says, "All is for destruction. All is for creation. All is for order." The second destruction god's shadow, which is noted as important. The magazine questions Kimberly's presence in the cabin and David's motives, and suggests Jenny's safety is uncertain. The magazine also looks at the combat system, focusing on enemies born from merging humans with plant androna. Players will engage in gun-shooting battles. The game offers 3D freedom for exploration, but uses a GPS-like system centered on Laura for navigation, and features a system that will allow the player to review the cutscenes after the battles. Finally, there is a section introducing 7 key characters: Laura Parton, David Brenner, Kimberly Fox, Jenny, a mysterious character cloaked in darkness, and 2 terrorists, A and B. This page is an article titled Dreamcast Frontline, focuses on upcoming Dreamcast games. The page includes an interview with Kenji Eno about D2, the sequel to Enemy Zero. Eno discusses the game's opening, its themes of destruction and creation inspired by Carl Jung, and the gun-shooting combat system. The game will have more combat compared to Enemy Zero. He describes the plot as reminiscent of Japanese anime, and reveals that characters like David and Kimberly will transform into monsters. There is also a short article on the game, Akihabara Denu Gumi Patapi, announcing its development for the Dreamcast. Please provide the text you would like me to summarize. The next page features several interviews with game developers about the Sega Dreamcast. Chunsoft's representative director, Koichi Nakamura, discusses the Dreamcast's modem and potential for network games, mentioning the possibility of simple browsing. He also highlights the Dreamcast's development environment based on Windows CE, making it more open for developers. Nakamura expresses interest in creating a mystery dungeon game with modem functionality. Koei's SP Division Public Relations Manager, Hiroshi Shimura, confirms their Dreamcast participation and mentions several titles in development, including their PC title, Nobunaga's Ambition, and its potential use of the Dreamcast's modem. Enix's Product Planning Department Software Division Manager, Keiji Honda, states that Enix will consider joining the Dreamcast once the console reaches a certain level of popularity, around 3 million units. They emphasize creating something unique to the Dreamcast. Atlus's managing director and first development department manager, Koji Okada, expresses excitement about the Dreamcast specs and potential for network games, while also mentioning their multi-platform approach. He teases a Shin Megami Tensei-like title. Red Company's representative, Oji Hiroi, discusses the importance of collaboration between creators and engineers in the digital world, and expresses interest in the Dreamcast's potential. Data East's Development Department Planning Group Chief, Eiichi Nishiyama, expresses interest in the Dreamcast's portable memory card feature, and discusses the possibility of a Jinguji game with online investigation. The page also highlights Smog's Neo Geo Pocket, a handheld console with Dreamcast compatibility, allowing data exchange and versus play. Please provide the text you would like me to summarize. The next page features a deep dive into the capabilities of the Dreamcast, specifically focusing on its enhanced CG and video playback qualities. They highlight how the Dreamcast tackles the issue of rough edges in scaled-up images using an interpolation feature. The discussion covers the advancements in visual quality compared to the Sega Saturn, particularly in terms of color depth and resolution, and the advantages of the Dreamcast's faster Crydrom drive. The article also touches on the Dreamcast's ability to handle full-motion video more smoothly. The article touches upon the topic of using a PDA, personal digital assistant, with the Dreamcast, proposing ideas like using arcade game save data on the go, or competing with other players' characters. The page also showcases graphical improvements, like better metallic and reflective surfaces, and features CG images demonstrating the Akasan character, with improved lighting and rendering. Games mentioned include Panzer Dragoon RPG and Virtua Fighter 3, highlighting the console's ability to deliver improved textures. This page focuses on the Dreamcast's processing power and graphics capabilities. It emphasizes the Dreamcast's Ekish 4 processor, boasting about its 1.4 GFLOPS performance, which is compared to a supercomputer from 10 years prior. The Dreamcast uses a superscalar architecture, enabling it to execute 2 instructions per clock cycle, enhancing its performance. The article delves into the topic of displaying polygons while playing movies, showcasing the console's ability to handle both simultaneously. They touch upon the idea of leveraging the CPU power efficiently through distributed processing, easing the load. This includes fast data transfers and memory management on the Dreamcast, which avoids loading issues previously seen in the Saturn. Discussions involve the Dreamcast's online capabilities, with reservations about lag in games like fighting games due to latency issues. The page then transitions to the new rendering techniques, particularly lighting and shadow effects, along with showcasing character model rendering tech. The familiar Sonic the Hedgehog makes an appearance, demonstrating the console's ability to create afterimages. The next page features coverage of the E3 show in Atlanta, focusing on the Dreamcast. However, it appears the Dreamcast was not actually exhibited at the show, but press and distributors were invited to a presentation where the console was the primary topic. It also includes an interview with Lima Sanani Carraher, SOA's VP of Communications, discussing SOA's Dreamcast strategy. Lee mentions plans to release 30 titles by Christmas '99 and the positive reactions from press and distributors. She highlights the importance of securing relationships with top distributors to make the most of the console. There is also discussion of original software development by SOA and the participation of 5 third-party developers. There is a debate about the Dreamcast's rivalry with Sega PC. Lee expresses that the PC is not the same as a home console. They plan to highlight the Dreamcast's unique content to appeal to gamers. The page then includes an interview with Rodney Page Cousins, president of Acclaim Entertainment Europe, about his company's involvement with the Dreamcast. Acclaim planned to launch around 78 sports titles for the Dreamcast. The page also mentions other topics, including Sega's PC-centric booth at E3, the debut of PC version of Sega Rally 2, Power VR tech, and a handheld game called Sonic Jam by Tiger Electronics. Finally, the page lists third-party titles, such as Turok by Acclaim, Unreal by GT Interactive, and Mortal Kombat 4 by Midway. This article summarizes a survey of software developers regarding the Dreamcast. Developers find the Dreamcast appealing due to its improved graphics, image processing, and the standard modem. Windows, Fence's familiarity, and CryDROM capabilities are also noted as pluses. While most anticipate Sony's continued dominance, developers view the Dreamcast as a new platform. Key concerns raised include affordable online communication costs and consistent Sega direction. Development times are projected to be longer for Dreamcast games, 16.25 months, compared to Saturn games, 13.29 months, with many titles potentially releasing late the following year. Developers express interest in creating new genres, including RPGs, digital pinball, and communication-focused games. Opinions on the Dreamcast's impact on game quality are divided, with some emphasizing improved specifications and others highlighting core gameplay. The article concludes by considering the console's potential to reshape software development. Early Dreamcast reactions from gamers were cautious, with a strong game lineup cited as crucial for purchase. Gamers desired original titles and prioritized Square, Enix, and Namco's involvement. A significant portion of non-Saturn developers were considering or committing to Dreamcast development, but concerns remained about consumer interest and sales. Digicube's Fumio Kurokawa stressed the need for a robust software library, effective promotion, and strong third-party developer support. He also noted Sega's new advertising campaign, while innovative, was unclear in its message. Finally, a large portion of the public was unaware of this new campaign. The next page addresses the future of the Sega Saturn after the Dreamcast launch, gauging opinions from developers, Sega, and gamers. A survey of developers indicated that most were already scaling down Saturn development, or would do so immediately after the Dreamcast's release. User surveys echoed this sentiment, predicting an average of 13 months of support left for the Saturn. It was also noted that very few titles will be released for Saturn during next year. Sega maintained that it would continue selling Saturn hardware and software based on market demand, without specific sales targets. Gamers voiced concerns about Sega abandoning the Saturn and urged the company to focus on original titles, retain compatibility, and address its past mistakes with the console. There's also a segment called From the Questionnaire Postcards, featuring user comments expressing a range of opinions, from excitement about the Dreamcast to loyalty to the Saturn. A ranking of articles from the magazine is provided, with the Pia Carrot Yukoso 2 feature topping the list. A list of article names are also provided. Finally, the winners of the number 9 questionnaire present are listed, and are the people who feature here in such and such context: Shadows of the Tusk, Girl Revolution Utina, Average Special, Princess Maker, Langrisser V, Baroque, Murdy Lancer, Roommate 3, Find Love 2, Super Tempo. The next page presents software rankings based on actual sales data and reader surveys. It highlights that sequels and fan discs are taking the top spots. There are Saturn sales rankings for 2 periods, May 1824 and May 2531. The rankings list the games, developers, release dates, prices, and estimated sales figures for each period. Super Real Mahjong P7 took the top spot for May 1824, while Grandia Digital Museum leads for May 2531. Additionally, the page features a popularity ranking of upcoming titles where D2 is prominent, alongside Pia EU Koso 2 and others. The text mentions that Dreamcast titles are expected to rise in the rankings. Quote, "There's also a ranking of games that players are hoping will be ported to other systems. Some of these games include Demon Machine God, Street Fighter 03, and Ah, My Goddess." The list contains point scores, game titles, and genres. A short segment discusses whether the upcoming Final Fantasy V2 can surpass the previous installment, and includes some comments from Konami regarding the possibility of porting games such as Metal Gear Solid and Beatmania Second Mix to the Sega Saturn. This page presents game rankings and reader reviews, emphasizing that even though the Super Robot Wars F Final Chapter is at the top, Himitsu Sentai Metamor V has surprisingly high scores. The game rankings include a table with titles such as Super Robot Wars F Final Chapter, Himitsu Sentai Metamor vs. and Shining Force 2I Scenario 2, The Targeted Godchild, among others. Reader reviews include opinions on Super Robot Wars Final Chapter, praising the improvements and new content, but also noting the high difficulty and potential for repetitive gameplay. Himitsu Sentai Metamor V is lauded for its detailed and engaging story, while some criticize its action sequences. There is also a section with comments from game developers. The next page showcases game rankings and reader reviews from the magazine. Shining Force 2I Scenario 2, The Targeted Godchild, is reviewed positively, with improvements in graphics and AI from the first scenario being praised, as well as the engaging story and balanced difficulty. Gungrafon 2 receives mixed comments, with graphical improvements and sound enhancements noted, but some finding the gameplay and mission difficulty challenging. Roommate 3 Cool Breeze in the Morning is described as more of a drama than a game, focusing on the evolving relationship with the character Ryoko. Tour Party, Graduation Trip, is seen as a casual and accessible game. Riven, the sequel to Myst, has challenging puzzles and immersive graphics. Game de Seishun is enjoyable for both single-player and multiplayer experiences. Super Tempo has impressive visuals and humor, though its unconventional style might not appeal to everyone. The Ranking Streets section features reviews and developer comments on Game de Seishun, where player choices have real direction in the game, and Super Tempo, with the developers noting their service spirit. The page includes a call for game review submissions, offering Saturn fan-branded telecards and software vouchers. Finally, there's a list of games eligible for review in issue number 14, which includes Deserted Island Story, R, Izu Land Story, Digital Museum, GT24, Revolutionary Girl Utena, Someday to Revolutionize the World, and King of Games M. The next page features Dragon Force, with a focus on character relationships in Part 3 of the Friend Showcase. Character relationships are detailed, including those between Megumi and Shigeru, and within the Kakureta Village Ninja Clan. Relationships between characters in the game are explored, such as those among the Doppelt Government Army and the Kaid faction. The advert on the right side is for Eberouge Special, a romance simulation game for PlayStation and Sega Saturn with the tagline, "Teach me the magic of love." The advert shows screenshots of the game and its characters, with details about the game's price. This page is an application form from Saturn Fan number 12. It includes sections for personal information like address, name, and phone number, as well as a section for rating a game from page 71 of the magazine. Readers are asked to pick a game they've played from that page and give their evaluation. Finally, it asks what prize from the current issue the reader wants. Quote, the next page features advertisements for 2 games on the Sega Saturn. The first is GT24, a 24-hour endurance racing simulator by Jaleco. Screenshots display in-game action, car selection, and pit stop sequences, highlighting the game's focus on strategic racing and realistic simulation of high-speed endurance races. Key features include realistic graphics and a cockpit view, promising players an immersive experience of 24-hour endurance racing. The second game is A Shogi 2 by ASC2, a shogi, Japanese chess, title. The advertisement emphasizes the game's powerful AI, capable of defeating even the best players, and also mentions that the game includes 100 shogi puzzles, crafted by Toshiaki Okada. The ad promotes a contest where players can win a special shogi set. This page is an introduction to Pocket Fighter on the Sega Saturn, highlighting the game's modes, system, and characters. It describes the game as a Capcom fighting game, with popular characters reimagined in a super deformed style. The page lists the release date, developer, price, genre, and other details. The page details 4 gameplay modes, including Arcade Mode, which faithfully recreates the arcade version, and Free Battle Mode, a versus mode with customizable settings. Training Mode allows players to practice moves and combos, and the page mentions a 4th mode called Running Mode. The optional features for the game are also showcased, and the page explains the unique appeal of Pocket Fighter with its parody-like characters and focus on mind games over complex systems. The next page explains the basic gameplay systems of Pocket Fighter, a game that, despite its super deformed style, requires strategic thinking. It covers basic attacks using direction buttons, and P, punch, K, kick, and S, special, buttons, detailing how to perform guard crashes with the S button. The page also explains the use of items, which come in 7 varieties, each with unique effects like poisoning, freezing, or stunning opponents. The mighty combo system is also detailed, where a full gauge allows for powerful special moves, and it highlights the flash combo, F combo system, which involves rapidly inputting P and K to transform the character. The page also shows the F combo routes, explaining how they branch out and can be used to create mind games. There's even a section on Fi combo cosplay, showing characters dressed up as other characters. It also includes a comment about the difficulty of using Ibuki's Fi combo, highlighting that 3-stop combos are effective for all characters, and how to input to cancel. This page focuses on the characters of Pocket Fighter, introducing the 12 playable fighters in their super deformed style. It highlights that each character has unique voice acting for their moves and Fi combos. The page details specific characters with a brief summary. Ryu, a standard character who, uniquely, doesn't cosplay in combos. Tabasa, powerful with rushing attacks but weak when launched solo, her secret is the late standing punch. Lele, altered slightly from the Vampire Darkstalkers series, her tricky attacks involve wall bounces and disappearing dashes. Felicia excels in Fikura, using her moves to dominate opponents, with routes that can be customized. Ken, strong basic attacks make her formidable, and she has a variety of combo options. Zangief, despite his grappling nature, his Fi combos are surprisingly useful. Ibuki, unique and perhaps out of place in this game, with weak Fi combos that force a more traditional fighting style. It ends by mentioning hidden characters, Guki, Akuma, and Dan, and noting that Guki is strong while Dan is weak, as expected. This page presents a Kantazoku report on the game Madu Monogatari and introduces its system and story. It emphasizes the user-friendly system that focuses on gathering information in towns and exploring dungeons. The game features cute characters and emphasizes its accessible gameplay for all ages. Players navigate through the main map to reach towns and dungeons. The towns are lively, with various inhabitants, including humans and monsters living together, offering different information. In combat, players use special moves to defeat enemies. Selecting the appropriate technique is crucial, and a special gauge fills up during combat, allowing players to unleash powerful attacks. The story begins in the town of Lykuras, with Alul embarking on an adventure. Alul visits a storyteller, who tells a story, and is keen to hear the next installment. The plot thickens when Alul encounters a crying boy named Panati, who has lost something important in the Kinani Plains. Alul decides to help Panati find the lost item. At home, Alul chats with Carcoon over dinner, and the adventure begins. One can also access the Alul's diary in the inn, which can be used to replay events in Alul's point of view. The next page details an affectionate master ranking for the game Black Matrix, a simulation RPG developed by Flightplan/NEC Interchannel. It presents the interim results of a popularity poll for characters players would like to serve. Domina is in the lead with 64 votes, followed by Krieg with 32 votes, Praha with 29 votes, Prilica with 24 votes, and Mishet with 18 votes. The page also showcases fan comments and illustrations, highlighting the affection for each character. The comments range from admiration for their cuteness and personality to desires to support them. The article touches on the strategic elements of the game, noting that the rankings could shift as fans rally behind their favorite characters. The page concludes with a teaser for the next issue, promising the final results of the ranking. This page introduces Express Train Ojo-sama, a romance adventure game where you ride the Vega Express train across Japan and get to know various girls. The game focuses on creating a realistic experience with the heroines, as their dialogue and actions change depending on how you interact with them. It has a system that differs from simply raising flags. The key feature of the game is to make the characters feel alive, utilizing full voice acting, full-screen visuals, and high-quality anime. The game features two modes, one where you travel freely on the Vega train, interacting with heroines, and another where you explore tourist spots. Several heroines are introduced, including Nanao Tsubasa, Iyama Mirai, Matsuura Ai, Kashima Shizuka, Tsuyama Nanako, Ito Komugi, Kakogawa Akiko, Elena Yuri Nordis, Iwaizumi Fuka, Sakuraigawa Mami, Yamaguchi Hoshina, Chitose Satomi, and Kitagami Midori. This page is a preview of Falcom Classics 2 for the Sega Saturn. It features a compilation of Falcom's classic titles, specifically YS2, Ancient YS Vanished the Final Chapter, and the adventure game Templo del Sol, also known as Azteca 2. The focus is on how the graphics have been redrawn for the Saturn, with CG enhancements to make them more realistic. Screenshots from Templo del Sol showcase the overworld and dungeon areas, highlighting the updated visuals. Details on the game's story, including the Chichen Itza ruins, are mentioned. New CG graphics are used throughout the game. YS2 screenshots emphasize the updated graphics, with comparisons to the original PC version. The review also talks about the opening movie being completely redone with digital animation and the monsters appearing in the game. There is a focus on how the gameplay from the PC version is preserved, but with enhanced visuals. Key locations such as Lance Village, the ruins, and the Ice World are featured. The next page is a preview of Druid, Demons of the Mind, a wizardry series title by Surtech, focusing on adventure game elements where players solve puzzles. The game's story involves a protagonist summoned to the planet Navin to find a missing druid named Lawson. The player explores 5 islands, gathering information and battling creatures using strategic combat with upper, middle, and lower attacks. The game emphasizes combining elements like earth, water, fire, and wind to cast powerful magic. The page features screenshots of gameplay and provides tips on strategic combat and magic creation, highlighting the importance of careful planning and understanding the enemy's actions. The reviewer notes the game requires critical thinking and problem-solving skills, providing a challenging adventure. This page focuses on the game Ojo-sama o Nere, which translates to Target the Princess, a romance adventure title where you play as a high school student trying to win the heart of a wealthy heiress named Mizue Nishituin. The page introduces the story, which revolves around the protagonist, Kenji Yamamura, trying to win over Mizue, who he falls for at first sight. The gameplay involves improving your character's skills in academics, art, and swimming by getting help from 4 beautiful girls in the school. The graphics and scenarios have been enhanced from the PC version, and popular voice actresses have been hired. Several characters are introduced. Konomi Nozaki, the soccer team manager, Marina Haruno, a classmate, Aki Kubota, a former manager, Etsuko Namiki, the school nurse, and lastly, Mizue Nishituin. The page highlights the character designs and the different scenarios that unfold as you try to woo Mizu, with a few racy screenshots showcasing some of the adult scenes that occur if you succeed. It also shows the game's release date, developer, and other specifications, like it being an adventure title recommended for those 18+. The next page introduces Game This page presents two database software titles for the Sega Saturn. The first is Mizuki Shigeru's Encyclopedia of Yokai, a database dedicated to the creatures and monsters from Japanese folklore as envisioned by Shigeru Mizuki. It includes animated yokai, audio pronunciations of their names and sounds, and RPG elements to learn about them, with over 900 yokai with information about their names, origins, and behaviors. The software features an RPG mode where the player searches for Mizuki in a world populated by yokai, and a yokai encyclopedia mode that allows players to study the various yokai through illustrations and text. The second software is Ultraman Encyclopedia 3, a database of information covering the Ultraman series. The game covers Ultraman Leo, Ultraman 80, Ultraman G, and Ultraman Powered, with the program including footage, character profiles, defense team information, episode summaries, and monster data. The software also includes openings for Leo and 80, and previews of anime, movies, and specials related to Ultraman. This page introduces Cross Detective Story, an adventure game for the Saturn featuring a young detective named Kurosuken. The game presents 7 interconnected cases, each testing the player's deduction skills and offering branching storylines. The player will use point-and-click mechanics to investigate crime scenes, analyze clues, and input textual analyses. The difficulty of the later episodes adjusts based on the player's performance in earlier ones. The story begins with Kurosuken vowing to become a detective at his father's grave, and takes on a case involving a thief who sneaks into the apartments of people at night. The page highlights key characters, including Kurosuken, his partner Tomoko Nishiyama, and the head of the detective agency, Tatsuhiko Saeki. There are also screenshots showing gameplay and character interactions. The next page presents Bakuchu Nippon Retu Sea Bass Fishing, a fishing game for the Saturn. It's an enhanced version of Sea Bass Fishing 2, featuring fully polygonal fish and backgrounds that blend real-life photography with CG. The game allows players to fish all over Japan and try to catch various fish. The player can move between fishing spots and buy new lures. It features real-life fishing gear from Daiwa, including rods, lines, and reels. The game has 25 species of fish, including black porgy, rockfish, aname, red-spotted grouper, rockfish, bluefin tuna, and chum salmon. The controls are kept simple for beginners, and the game features real-time weather and sea conditions.
The page also shows screenshots of fishing gameplay.
The player aims to hook a fish and then carefully reel it in. It displays a variety of tackle to be used for fishing. This page is about Castlevania Symphony of the Night for the Sega Saturn. It highlights the Saturn version's original elements, like new stages, events, and player selection. In addition to Richter and Maria are playable characters. There are 4 new stages and a new event related to Alucard and Maria. A new item to increase Alucard's speed is included, and information on the leveling up system, equipment, and helpful familiars. The game features original elements and system improvements, such as synchronizing the in-game clock with the Saturn's internal clock, 8 new BGM tracks, and a sound mode. Players can view illustrations by Ayami Kojima within the room.
It mentions a campaign where players could win a signed print by finding a specific item in the game.
Also, there are character screenshots, including Alucard, Richter, and Maria. The next page features a multiplayer action game called Keno Toss, where up to 4 players can compete in simple, fast-paced battles. It's described as suitable for people who find recent games too difficult. Focusing on the annual Kelio Tosida event on planet Keliot. Players battle in a circular arena on Mount Kelio, aiming to knock out 3 opponents to clear stages and face bosses, with up to 4 players battling at once. The gameplay involves kicking, jumping, and using special moves, with items like balls and air bombs available. The story mode centers on climbing Mount Kelio with 6 characters, each stage featuring unique gimmicks, and defeated characters become playable later. There are screenshots of the gameplay. The page also includes a section with game reviewers' opinions on various titles. A reviewer mentions being hooked on Subterranea, a Genesis game with low-gravity rocket control challenges. Another reviewer anticipates D2 for Dreamcast, praising its opening video. One reviewer enjoys Linda Cube, regretting not knowing about it sooner. 50.
Featured Saturn titles and impressions include Linda Cube Complete Edition. Reviewers also gave their thoughts and ratings for the Sega Saturn versions of the games, with ratings given by different writers. The scores are listed with one person giving 9/10, another 8/10, and the last 7/10. This page showcases Saturn Soft Impression, with reviews and screenshots of several games. Princess Maker. Fairy Tale Dream is a simulation game focused on raising a daughter to become a princess. The reviewer praises the game's ability to keep players engaged with dress-up elements, detailed social interactions, and the rewarding feeling of seeing the daughter grow. Langrisser V. The End of Legend is a strategy RPG and the final entry in the Langrisser series. The reviewer notes the improved system and user-friendliness compared to previous titles, making it accessible to newcomers while still appealing to longtime fans. The story and characters are intentionally designed, which may divide some players. Marine Fishing. Bursting Japan Archipelago is a fishing game that uses real-life footage and CG. Reviewers commend the game's realistic graphics and the ability to enjoy fishing at a relaxed pace. However, they note the lack of variety in fishing spots and cooking methods, as well as a sense of weak urgency when battling fish. Kino Toss is a multiplayer action game where players kick opponents off the stage. The reviewer finds the gameplay enjoyable in multiplayer but less engaging in single-player. Super Adventure Rockman is an adventure game that features small sections of movie scenes. The story has some variation, but is mostly linear. Initial D. Legend of Fastest is a racing game based on the manga. Its mechanics is difficult and requires practice. Reviewers provide their scores for each game. This page of Saturn Soft Impression magazine continues with reviews and impressions of games for the Sega Saturn. Castlevania Symphony of the Night gets a solid review for its atmosphere and detailed production, but the reviewer thinks the game might be difficult for action game novices. It's recommended for fans of the series or those who haven't played the PlayStation version. Cross Hermit Story. The Seven Labyrinths receives positive feedback for its well-written scenarios, which are both simple and carefully crafted. The reviewer appreciates the quick loading times and the gripping story. Osama Game is an adult game that is considered enjoyable, but the reviewer thinks the minigame portion is lacking. Ultraman Encyclopedia 3 is the third database software for the Ultraman series and features information on Ultraman Leo and other Ultraman media. Game Basic for Sega Saturn is a tool software that allows you to control the functions of the Saturn using a basic programming language. The reviewers also share their overall impressions and scores for each game, including what they liked and disliked about each title. This page features Super Robot Wars Final Edition, a strategy guide for the Sega Saturn. The page boasts about the guide's comprehensive data, including enemy data for every stage, detailed unit, and pilot stats. It highlights that the guide includes color maps, showing enemy locations and routes. The guide covers event triggers, pilot recruitment, and unit training. Several other game strategy guides are listed with their prices. Press of Fire 2, Gallop Racer 2, Crime Crackers 2, First Love Story School Trip, Team Management Simulation 2, Arnhem's Wing, Blaze and Blade, Personal Professor, Fox Junction, Super Magic Hero Legend Wataru, Another Step, Mary's Atelier Plus, and Super Robot Wars F. The next page focuses on Cyber Troopers Virtualon Oratorio Tangram for the Sega AM3 arcade. The text encourages players to learn the importance of evasive maneuvers rather than simply attacking, and discusses how to reduce vulnerabilities after actions like dashing and jumping. The page delves into specific techniques: cancel dash evasion to cancel lag after attacks by dashing, cancel jump evasion to cancel lag by jumping and then dashing, and jump evasion against fast attacks. It also mentions using double jumps for evasion and countering. While absorbing attacks, it is recommended to use heavily armored mechs. Another tip is using a crouching turbo shot to cancel stiffness after attacks. This page is a deeper dive into the RVR-68 door drain mech from Cyber Troopers Virtualon Oratorio Tangram for the Sega AM3 arcade, focusing on its turbo shots. It covers different close-range attack options like the guard reversal. The page includes a table summarizing the basic turbo shots for the Dordoray, with alt-turbo and roturbo variations for different stances such as standing, crouching, and jumping. The review also covers turbo close-range attacks, activated by pressing the right turbo button with either L or trigger while locked on. Other techniques described include SAR trigger plus R turbo, SAR trigger plus R turbo, close R trigger plus R turbo, and close R plus R trigger plus R turbo. The tips include how these moves can interrupt enemy movements, and create opportunities for follow-up attacks. The article highlights small jump attacks and how you can perform a jump and attack, and mentions quick-step maneuvers for short-range attacks. This page is a preview of Dynamite Deca 2, Die Hard Arcade 2, showing the game at approximately 80% completion, with 3 playable stages featuring missions inside a ship. Each mission starts with a unique entry cutscene affecting the route and enemies encountered. Mission 1 involves parachuting onto the ship's deck, and Mission 3 begins with underwater infiltration. The page introduces characters and bosses like the French chef, named Poiret de Sakai, who is a culinary philosopher, and teases a mysterious island setting where the mastermind of the events awaits. There's also a spotlight on Sega Virtua Striker 98, detailing a tournament at Shinjuku Station Square, won by Mr. Fujiyama, who was invited to the World Cup Japan vs. Argentina game. Finally, a preview of Daytona USA 2 discusses the upcoming advanced course, set in an urban environment with tight corners and interconnected streets, leading to a 360-degree loop in the Bay Area. The reviewer notes that mastering the drift while maintaining speed is crucial for success. The next page features a preview of Street Fighter 03, Street Fighter Alpha 3, highlighting the ISM system, which allows players to select from 3 different character abilities. It introduces 2 new characters, Rainbow Mika, a female wrestler, and Cody from Final Fight, here seen as a prisoner. The reviewer comments on Rainbow Mika's fighting style, noting her reliance on grappling moves and quick actions, and Cody's surprising return in prison attire. The ISM system is broken down into Coxism, Zism, and Vism, each with unique characteristics affecting super combos and fighting styles. Zism emphasizes one powerful super combo, Zism offers a balance similar to Street Fighter Alpha 2, and Vism allows for custom combos with adjustable timings. The page also includes screenshots of Rainbow Mika and Cody in action, showcasing their special moves and super combos. Finally, there's a news section announcing Taito's new arcade system board, Taito G-Net, which utilizes card-based software distribution and features enhanced processing power. Games like Psychic Force 2012, Landmaker, and Chaos Heat are mentioned as upcoming titles for the platform. There is a competition to win merchandise for Star Gladiator 2 and Daytona USA 2. This page delves into hidden features and unique gameplay strategies for various Sega Saturn games. The heading boasts the discovery of useful Uruteku, special techniques or tricks that leverage the spirit commands in Super Robot Wars F Final Chapter. There are 5 tips and tricks on this page, including how to utilize spirit commands in Super Robot Wars F Final Chapter, where you can manipulate the Dream command to endlessly use encouragement and love. There is also information for GT24 about how to unlock additional difficulty levels and hidden cars. A code is shown on how to unlock these additional features. One of the hidden cars is described as being top tier with high performance. The page also includes a secret move combination for Assemble Battle Kitsu Koto by combining specific parts. There is a tip on how to have your girlfriend play guitar in Tokimeki Memorial Drama Series Volume 2 by using special picks that are unlocked. There is also a tip for Sega Ages Phantasy Star Collection on how to activate the sound test mode. The page ends with a segment for user submissions of Uruteku, or special techniques, and a notice that by changing the date on your Sega Saturn to certain dates, the background of Koro-Q Park changes. The next page of Newswave covers the latest information related to Saturn. It features a report on the Sakura Wars Song Show Tsubasa production announcement, highlighting the addition of 2 new characters, Orihime and Rainy. There are also photos of the cast members in costume, including Sakura, Sumair, Kana, Maria, Kaede, Kohran, and Ogami. The page mentions special guest appearances in addition to the main cast, as well as musical arrangements and a 2-part structure for the show. There is a ticket purchase guide for the show, listing dates, times, and prices, as well as instructions on how to enter a prize draw to win Sakura Wars 2 autographed posters. The page highlights the Detective Conan attraction at Joyopolis, offering a puzzle-solving experience. The page features the X-Band Free Chance event, offering free matching and mail services for games like Virtua Fighter Remix, Sega Rally Championship Plus, Saturn Bomberman, and Worldwide Soccer 98. Finally, there is a section about the opening of the Taisho Roman Hall, a Sakura Wars-themed shop in Tokyo's Ikebukuro Gigo, offering character goods, retro sweets,
and original merchandise. The page concludes with Sega's homepage information, recommending the Dreamcast Live demonstration featuring Irison. The next page features a variety of game-related news and merchandise. Firstly, it covers the final tour of Sentimental Graffiti with all SG girls. It highlights a concert at Nakano Sun Plaza in August, mentioning the release of tickets and contact information. It then introduces trading cards for Galaxy Fraulein Yuna, with illustrations by Mika Akitaka, detailing the card series and its content, including original illustrations. Next up are kawaii cell phone straps featuring popular game characters from Super Robot Wars and Pocket Fighter, available from Uni5. Readers can win these straps by entering a contest. The page mentions the Konami Day event held on the second and fourth Saturday of each month, featuring original goods, including telecards and aprons, with Tokimeki memorial characters. The TV section announces the broadcast of the OVA Dukyusei 2 on various TV stations, featuring a romance story. The CD and video section introduces several music releases, including the Grandia Original Soundtrack 2 by Noriyuki Iwadare, Roommate Yoko Inoue Vocal Collection 3, and Beatmania Second Mix Complete. It also features Super Robot Wars F, Greeting CD, and Real Bout Fatal Fury 2 The Newcomers. Lastly, there is a prize draw with various gifts, including a Cross Detective Story telecard, Steve Slope sliders, music CD and yo-yo, Arcana Strikes trading cards, and Super Real Mahjong 7 books. This page highlights upcoming Sega Saturn titles and related information. The first game is Steam Hearts, a slightly ecchi shooting game originally on PC and PC Engine. The story revolves around saving a planet from a virus, and the page details the various special weapons players can use. Next is Lupin III, The Pyramid of the Wise Man, a 3D action game featuring Lupin and his gang searching for treasure within a pyramid. The page shows various in-game screenshots, and the game features animation and polygon-based characters. The page also features Those Who Hunt Elves 2, an adventure game based on the TV series, with voice acting from the TV show, and content like free talk and alarm voices. Finally, there's Waku Waku Monster, a puzzle game where you raise monsters by connecting blocks in a chain. The monster will evolve depending on how you create the chains, and the page shows in-game screenshots. The page also features fan service elements in Steam Hearts and stage clear bonuses, as the female characters will remove clothing after the stage is cleared to cure illness. The next page, titled Saturn Soft Navigator, spotlights upcoming Sega Saturn and Dreamcast releases. There's a section dedicated to highly anticipated titles, with status reports on games in development. First up is Deep Fear, a horror title, followed by Back and Loader, Black Matrix, Frey and Magical Adventure, Friends Shining of Youth, and Pia Carrot e Yukoso 2. There are details about their release dates, developer comments, and development progress percentages. The page also includes a new release calendar for Sega Saturn, listing game titles, release dates, manufacturers, and prices, mentioning games like Soul Divide, Waku Waku Monster, and Sonic Jam, amongst others. Finally, there's a small section covering upcoming Dreamcast titles, mentioning Visual Memory and D no Shokutaku 2. This page from Saturn Fan Magazine features a variety of content related to Sega Saturn and Dreamcast games. The page announces that issue number 13 is coming on June 26th, highlighting upcoming titles like Luna 2 Eternal Blue, Radiant Silvergun, and Black Matrix. The magazine promises in-depth coverage of Let's Become the Manager of the Japanese National Team and Langrisser vs. There's a section for readers to ask questions, and it gives contact details for technical questions, general inquiries, and advertising. The Game Index provides a list of Sega Saturn games, including Akumajo Dracula X, Nocturne in the Moonlight, Initial D, and a variety of other titles across different genres, from action RPGs to simulation games. The page also lists Dreamcast games, such as Dino Shokutaku 2, D2. The page also includes details about the upcoming Sega Saturn release of Initial D, including the release date, genre, compatibility with racing controllers, and price. The game promises intense downhill battles and the chance to master drifting. Additionally, there are adverts for upcoming titles and reader-submitted artwork at the bottom of the page, with the title, Saturn is Still Alive. Are those sequels also announced? The next page features information and advertisements for the game Jang Jang Voice, Koi Koi Voice, a mahjong and card game compilation for the Sega Saturn. It is being released on July 23, 1998. On the left side of the page, a group of schoolgirls are featured, which have voices provided by various voice actresses, including Nana Motoki, Ayako Kurosaki, Natsumi Sakai, and Akemi Nagayama. To the right, we see another group of characters, presumably idols, in blue costumes holding microphones. There is an advertisement for a limited edition version of the game, priced at 7,800 yen, which includes an original song and a see-through picture CD. The standard edition is priced at 6,800 yen.